Hi everybody. This is going to be a short one because I don't want it to take 3 hours to upload. Um, yeah, it is Monday the 15th of May. Um, so here it goes. Everything's for entertainment purposes only. The full disclaimer is down in the description box, along with the email, Twitter, Venmo, whatever. It's all down there. Some hot spots that have been hitting. Uh, I guess Riley Gaines, the female swimmer who called out basically that transvestite Thomas something or other, who calls himself Leah Thomas, is they're now more and more countries are now saying no, transvestite cannot participate in women's sports, and no, they should not be. And more people are coming and fighting and saying no. Transvestites should not be allowed in women's facilities, restrooms, nor women's locker rooms. And right now, the donkeys who are in the JoJo admin are saying, oh, it's totally fine. Wait a second. Some girls, young girls, are already being harassed by these transvestite teenage boys. And all it's going to take is for one young girl to be seriously exposed, injured, touched, abused, then this whole transvestite bullshit is going to go up in smoke. And the other thing I'm like, no. If you're a boy, you're in boys' sports. If you're a girl, if you have the female chromosomes, you are in women's sports. No, this isn't 1930s Berlin, and you're not in the film or movie cabaret or working at a cabaret. Get real, folks. Well, yeah. And again, people are having snit fits because the Z guy, the guy from the blue and yellow flag country, who doesn't own a suit. Yeah, people are now having fits because I guess last year on the Eurovision contest, the blue and yellow flag country won, and so they were supposed to host it this year, but of course they can't because the Z guy's a complete moron, an idiot. But he wanted to make a speech at the final night, and I guess somebody said, nuh-uh, you're not talking. So everyone's having a snit fit about that. Well, you know what? All I keep getting on this guy, he's a complete moron. If somebody goes through his home, I bet they're going to find a lot of pro-Adolf literature in his home. So he's going to get his own desserts. I mean, once JoJo and the donkeys are out of office, they're going to be called out for all this nonsense. And now different things are coming out about Rachel. And I had heard this gossip, but now it's being confirmed that the real reason why she didn't want to come to, why they were holding back on making the final decision on attending the May 6th event is that Rachel was in negotiations with the CBS, American Television Network, CBS, and she was trying to cut a deal via whomever to be the color correspondent on air talking about the coronation. So, didn't happen. So that's why all of a sudden, hey, Henry came solo, because she was still hoping that she'd be able to do and get paid for it. And it's ironic that they're using CBS because that's the network that Gayle King is on the morning news show with. So now I guess they're now William Morris Endeavor Agency. Rachel's been pulling some more nonsense, and I get the feeling that Ari Emanuel is going to say, cut the crap. It's like, if you want this kind of career and go into politics, you got to stop using that Duchess title. And you can't be pulling this, I'm a royal duchess, and expect to be addressed by your title, where, hey, in America, we don't use our titles here. There's a lot of aristocrats. There are lower members of various royal families who live and work in the United States, and none of them use their titles. Is her ego in such a sub-basement that she constantly has to have this ego validation? So, yeah. And then yesterday, Royal Grift put a really interesting article up about a foundation. I think it's Alliance for Children's Rights. She put a picture up of just the donors, major donors to this charity. And it's kind of ironic that all the board members are white. All the pictures, all the images in the propaganda literature, they're all ethnic groups are represented. And when I started reading the donor list, one of the, not the top tier, but the tier right below it, the Pritzker Foundation. I think that is so funny because J.B. Pritzker, who also owns Hyatt Hotels, is the governor of Illinois. And let me tell you, he has helped to destroy this state 8 ways to Sunday. If I mean, more people are leaving Illinois every day. And then plus we've got the lunatic mayor. Lori Looney Tunes said bye-bye today, and now we've got Brandon. So I am waiting to see what happens, because the guy wants to cut the Chicago police budget. He wants to replace police officers with social workers. Now, it's ironic because if you look at what happened the other day in the Minneapolis, there were a bunch of donkeys holding a conference to decide which donkey was going to represent where. Well, these are the people that want to say bye-bye to the police departments, but the minute they start fighting among themselves, all you hear screaming is, call the police, call the police. So they only want the donkeys and these Antifa brats. They only want, and the Bernie Loves Mushrooms crew, if the police are going to interfere in their shenanigans, they don't want the police. But the minute they're being offended by themselves, by their brethren, that's when they call the police. And I thought it was really funny. I saw the news clip that what happened down in Texas. Yep, go Texas. Don't mess with anyone from Texas. And I'm proud to say I'm half Texan, so I'm not someone you should be messing with. Some people were peacefully protesting a drag show that was geared towards children. And these people were standing across the street from the venue very peacefully holding up their signs. Well, you can see, I think I put the clip of it and the other story by Greg Foreman in my community page. These stupid Antifa thugs who have to hide and cover themselves because they don't want to be known. Just like some other people who have to hide their faces in all their videos. I mean, it's like, I might as well clump you in that same clique. Yeah, Antifa went and sprayed mace on some of the peaceful protesters. Well, they kept taunting the protesters, and then all of a sudden, some of Texas's finest come in and start, hey, you don't do that. You don't go and mace a peaceful protester who has done nothing to you. Well, let's put it this way. That group of Antifa thugs, yeah. You don't mess with a Texas police officer. Because most of those guys learned how to handle a pow-pow at a very early age. Just like myself, I remember I was about I was 4 or 5 years old, going out on the horse with one of my cousins, and he's like, come on, we're going to go we have to go check the range and see what's going on, and if we see something, we'll bring it back. Well, I had my little hands over his when we took the head off a rattlesnake, and we also took the heads off of a couple jackrabbits. And I'm like, okay, I'm little Zoe, drop me off the horse. I want to pick up the the dead rattlesnake and the dead jackrabbits and put them in the canvas bag. And we went back to the house, the ranch house, and my grandmother and my aunt were there. And so I sat with my cousin Johnny, and he dressed the snake, took the skin off to tan it, and so we had a bunch of snake meat, and I helped him skin the rabbits, and we took the meat into the kitchen, and I watched my grandmother and my aunt frying up the bunny. And then my parents came in later because they were off doing something, and my mom goes, what is she eating? And I looked at my mom, I go, I'm eating bunny. And she's like, what? I go, yeah, Johnny and I went out and shot bunnies. And my mother was like shaking her head, looking at my dad. They go, Johnny took her out on the horse, and they probably took out some jackrabbits, and that's what she's eating. And so here we're living in a different state. We were living, New Jersey? Yeah, grew up on the Jersey Shore. But we were down visiting the family down in America's Southwest. I think we were visiting the family that was in New Mexico, but actually we're Texans. So, yeah. You don't mess with people like us, especially if you don't have two brain cells to rub together. You just don't get it. Especially now. I was able to catch my favorite Swede this morning before I took off to take care of something, and he's laughing his tush off too, that it's like the globalists knew and used the flu as an excuse. It's like they want everybody to get that liquid, and now I've had family members who were required to get the liquid by their occupation. One passed away because his aorta was blocked by massive blood clots. Another cousin, his esophagus ruptured, and what they said after the initial surgery is that all the blood vessels going through his esophagus were full of clots. And then the worst one ever. My cousin's daughter had to get the liquid because of work. She was pregnant. At 35 weeks, they no longer could feel a heartbeat or any movement with the fetus. They basically had to induce labor, or some would call extremely late termination. Well, they needed to. Because the baby was dead. Why? Because the umbilical cord, which is supposed to have a blood flow, sorry, it was nothing but blood cells that had clotted and stopped the flow of blood to the fetus. Yeah, so the flu that everybody was supposed to get and that was supposed to be so horrible was basically a ruse to get people to get this liquid into their systems. And now I know they want to start cutting down the population. And this is how they're trying to do it. And of course, people who follow the donkeys, just like good little Nazis, they do what they're told. It's sick. It's really sick. And then if they get sick from the liquid, of course, the next thing they're going to say is that they've got the the 19th version of the C, and they're going to put them on remdesivir. Go look that up. That was actually developed to fight Ebola. Over 57% of all people who had Ebola that they had been given remdesivir died within 72 hours. And here, that's what they were giving people here in the United States. So yeah, those people would be dead within most of them were dead within 72 hours. Well, the only thing else I've got to say today is like thank you to all the messages, the private messages that came in. I am feeling better, although it was kind of funny. I got, Thursday morning, when I had to do my video for Thursday. Yeah, when I got up, I saw the messages about something, and I'm like, okay, and then did my video, looked at the other bullshit. I got up on Friday. I noticed something really not good. I spent the majority of the day in the emergency room because my primary care doctor could not get me seen until this upcoming Wednesday. And I'm sorry, but when you've got a UTI, if I had waited that long, I would have ended up in the hospital for real. Because you don't, soon as you know you've got one, you get your butt to the doctor because you need antibiotics pronto. I mean, get the shot in the tush, have them get a syringe of antibiotics, put it in your tush to kickstart. Well, thank goodness I did, because yesterday I got a call, and yeah, the ER doctor, I mean, it was like they realized, yes, I have a UTI infection. And then after the culture was processed for like the 24 hours, Sunday they call me up and saying, we need to switch you to a different antibiotic. So I was like, okay, cool. And so after my doctor's appointment today for my RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, I then went and picked up the new prescription of antibiotics. But I'm doing pretty well with my RSD protocol. We've got 2 down, 1 more to go, so I'll be finding out sometime later today when I will be going in for the 3rd injection of this series. It's done between, C6 and C7 of my, right at the base, top of your spine, at the bottom of your neck, the cervical vertebrae. So I'll be going in, and my doctor and I, we've done so many of these that we laugh. It's a permanent scar, white spot on my spine. You can see people. One of the doctors was going, when I was in the ER, I said, yeah, I get those epidural injections. She goes, oh, where? I go, here, right on the back of my neck. She goes, oh my God, there's like white dots. I go, yeah, that's the scars. That's from the injections because I've had so many and they use the same spot going in. We laugh at it. I mean, the doctors, they know. I've been having this done since, oh my gosh, the first car accident where that really knocked the daylights out of me. That was during it was January of the year that I worked on Public Enemies. Yeah, it was, I got slammed into a shuttle bus, hit one of those people mover buses from one of the airlines, slammed into the back of me while I was at a stop sign, and not good. So these guys have been taking care of my neck and my body and my spine that's deteriorating, and living with RSD is not fun. So these are the doctors that keep me going. And but yeah, it's like I saw my main guy today. He says, "You're doing great. Let's get the last one scheduled, and so we can possibly, instead of taking your dosage at this interval, we'll be able to stretch the intervals between taking my medication cocktail." Because right now I'm at, before we started the injections, I had to be taking my medication every 8 hours. Now I'm at every 12 hours, and hopefully after this next injection, we'll be able to stretch it to every 14 to 16 hours. So that's pretty good. Considering the medication cocktail I'm on, a lot of people couldn't handle it. So thanks everybody for listening today. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And I'll be talking to you on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye-bye.